All right, hey, good morning. This is Noel, and here we go again. Um, yeah, that was kind of a rough one. I think I mentioned I got one girl out here, one dog. Mom is in heat, and she's breeding this week, and that's a whole process in itself. But it always you know um, disrupts the norm, I guess. And so again, last night. Uh, I heard them out here and they got started howling again. Um, and so I jumped up thinking, because the only time I've heard them do that, lately with this going on is like right at 6 or so. I don't know, 5:45, and uh, and of course, like wintertime, I've been getting up at 6:15. But today I jumped up and I was getting ready to come out here, and then I looked at the time, and it was like 4:20 in the morning. Uh, and before I even like finished getting shoes on, they had stopped. So then I laid there for a while thinking. I mean, I've thought about this many times before, but of a new, some kind of different solution to get them. You can't really stop them from doing that, unless you're out here, which they don't do it when I'm around. But um, uh, some type of intercom or something where I can, you know, say something to them or whatever. I don't know. I may look at that today. Uh, it's not really a big deal other than like, and I have no idea if neighbors can hear it at all. They're not super close, but you know, I don't want to be waking anybody else up in the middle of the night. So we have really good neighbors, and so I don't want to be rude and that kind of thing. Not take care of my own stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna look at that today, I think, and see if there's any way I can get something to, I don't know, snap them out of it once they get started. So the best thing, I don't know, probably the easiest thing you could do if you're gonna, spend a bunch of money on a dog breeding business is, keep your males somewhere separate during heat. But um, even then, like the females still get even a little different. So anyway, part of the deal. So reading John 19 today. Um, yeah. So gonna get into that, and yeah, I'll try and stay on track. So here we go. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. Like first, I'm sorry, I'm already off track. It's the first verse, but when you look at the crap that they did to people, like back then, like flogging, crucifying, like all this stuff, like I don't know, man. It's like beyond like sick. Like I have no idea how yeah, it's just weird. I don't get it. Um, like yeah. Hey, you're good. Uh, the soldiers, the soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They clothed him in a purple robe and went up Hey, hey, hello, hello. Are you done? I don't know what she's doing. I think she's gonna, you know, I don't know. Sorry. Okay, back on track. That's just part of the deal with me. Like sorry. Um, they clothed him in a purple robe and went up to him again and again, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they struck him in the face. Once more, Pilate came out and said to the Jews, "Look, I'm bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no basis for a charge against him." When Jesus came out wearing a crown of thorns and a purple robe, Pilate said to them, "Here is the man." As soon as the chief priests and their officials saw him, they shouted, "Crucify, crucify." But Pilate answered, "You take him and crucify him. As for me, I find no basis for a charge against him." The Jews insisted, "We have a we have a law, and according to that law, he must die because he claimed to be the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was even more afraid, and he went back inside the palace. I mean, that's like so like sorry to stop again, but this to get to where Pilate is, like you're pretty much a ruthless person. Um, you know what I mean? Like he's already had him flogged and done all this crap and brought him back out, and still is saying he finds no charges against him. So he already knows he's doing this to somebody that's like innocent. Uh, but then like for this ruthless guy, somebody like Pilate, to be for it to say like he's afraid, like he knew there was something with Jesus, and he went back inside the palace. "Where do you come from?" he asked Jesus. But Jesus gave him no answer. "Do you refuse to speak to me?" Pilate said. "Don't you realize I have power either to free you or crucify you?" Jesus answered, "You have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin." From then on, Pilate tried to set Jesus free, but the Jews kept shouting, "If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar." Twisted it, you know, sick. When Pilate heard this, he brought Jesus out and sat down on the judge's seat at a palace known as the Stone Pavement. It was the day of preparation of the week of Passover week, about the 6th hour. "Here is your king," Pilate said to the Jews. But they shouted, take him away, crucify him." "Shall I crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar." The chief priest answered, "Oh, that's the leader of the church, leader of the Jews." Finally, Pilate handed him over to be crucified. So the soldiers took charge of Jesus. Carrying his own cross, he went out to the place of the skull. Uh, in Aramaic, it's Golgotha. Here they crucified him, and with two others, one on each side of Jesus, one on each side, and Jesus in the middle. Pilate had um, a notice prepared and fastened to the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Many of the Jews saw the sign, uh, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and the sign was written in Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. The chief priest of the Jews protested to Pilate, "Do not write King of the Jews, but that this man claimed to be King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." When the soldiers crucified Jesus, they took his clothes, dividing them into 4 shares, one for each of them, with the remaining garment, uh, or sorry, with the undergarment remaining. This garment was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. "Let's not tear it," they said to one another. "Let's decide by a lot who will get it." This happened that the scripture might be fulfilled, which said, "They divided up my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing." So this is what the soldiers did. Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother's sister Mary, his mother's sister Mary, the wife of uh, Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother there and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, "Dear woman, here is your son," and to the disciple, "Here is your mother." From that time on, the disciple took her into his home. Later, knowing that all was now completed, and so the scripture would be fulfilled, Jesus said, "I am thirsty." A jar of wine vinegar was there, so Uh, they soaked a sponge in it and put the sponge on a stalk of hyssop plant and lifted it to Jesus' lips. When he received the drink, Jesus said, "It is finished." With that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. Now it was the day of preparation, and the next day was to be a special Sabbath, because the Jews did not want the bodies left on the crosses during the Sabbath. They asked Pilate to have the legs broken and the bodies taken down. The soldiers therefore came and broke the legs of the first man who had been crucified with Jesus, and then those of the other those of the other. But when they came to Jesus and found that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. Instead, one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, bringing a sudden flow of blood and water. The man who saw it has given testimony, and his testimony is true. He knows that he knows what. He knows that he tells the truth, and he testifies, so that you may also believe. These things happened so that Scripture would be fulfilled. Not one of his bones had been or will be broken, and as the other Scripture says, they will look on the one they have pierced. Later, Joseph of Arimathea asked Pilate for the body of Jesus. Now, Joseph was a disciple of Jesus, but secretly because he feared the Jews. With Pilate's permission, he came and took the body away. He was accompanied by Nicodemus, the man who earlier had visited Jesus at night. Nicodemus brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds. Well, taking Jesus' body, the two of them wrapped it with spices and strips of linen. This was in accordance with the Jewish burial customs. At the place where Jesus was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden, a new tomb in which no one had ever been laid, because it was Jewish. It was the Jewish day of preparation. Since the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus there. That's something in it. Hmm. Like we just have no idea. You know what I mean? We have no idea. Um, you know, uh, it's like and don't get me wrong, I know that there's somebody that's gonna, that would say like, well, Jesus says to pray and go off about everything, or Paul or whoever you want to say. But we just have no idea truly. Um, you know, we're often, you know, praying about stuff and uh, you know, whatever different things, and uh, and I understand Jesus' love for us, and I get all that, but it's like, um, you know, Jesus going through this is, you know, worth more than us, like, you know, asking for stuff or to fix something or to, like, it's just, yeah, yeah, it's a lot. Um, yeah, like, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, we're talking about not Matthew, gosh, Mary being there near the cross, and um, him telling John, like, you know, this is your mother. I'm telling Mary, like, this is your son, whatever. And then it's saying, like, that Mary goes to live in that disciple's house. So, obviously Jesus, or not Jesus, Joseph, Jesus' earthly dad, something must have happened to him by now. Um, who knows? And then we know Jesus had a bunch of other siblings. Um, so I don't know. It's just um, I don't know how it ended up. You know, with Mary going to live with John. I have no idea. It may be cultural. I have no idea. For us, you would just assume like you would go with your other children. I don't know. And it's funny, not funny, but I don't know, weird. Like at the Christmas story, um, you always have Mary and Joseph, and all this stuff, and like that was pretty much Joseph's whole part. Um, you know, I mean, yeah. You don't ever see where Jesus like went back to his dad's funeral or anything like that. Which, you know, he knows what's coming after you know you die here, so he may not worry or think about it the same way we do, of course. I don't know. I just um, if I don't know. I just don't think that this is like taken um as serious as it should be if you know um for people, for us, whether it's individual or community or church. um it's not taken as serious as it should be if it is what we believe. Um, you know, it's kind of like I talked about that yesterday, maybe, I don't know, or the other day. Like if it was taken as serious, if it was taken, like yeah, as serious as like we say we believe in it. Like this is what we would be teaching. This is what we be teaching people. Um, and this will be educating our church and discipling men and women, like you know, all this stuff. But and I know there's churches that are doing that, but um, you know, often it's more of some motivational speech or like some other you know uh, maybe outside the Bible wisdom that a few verses from the Bible get applied to. It could be like, don't use your cell phone so much. Here's why. And gives a couple Bible verses. And it's like this is where like we miss it, the church misses it, and in reality, like the entire government misses it. if you teach the truth and right in the beginning, then you don't have to backtrack later and just say like, well, let's not use our phone so much because you know, blah, blah, blah. When if you like were teaching the truth in the first place, then people would be, you know, like not all people by any means, but you know, individuals would have a much better chance of, you know, like um, hearing from God, having wisdom, like, oh, I feel disconnected from God. I should, you know, oh, I've been, you know, like on my phone too much this week. I know, you know, like we would be, we would have disciples that have wisdom. You know what I mean? Like, but instead, the church operates, you know, like the government's now, you know, operates now, and it's like, um, you know, instead of like, you know, making a law and based on the majority of people, you make laws based on the bottom, you know, 1% or whatever it is that does something that you don't like. Uh, and that's a, you know, surefire way to eventually end the country. Um, it's just I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I do. It's kind of like makes me a little sick and all of that. Even with myself, you know, like I don't take that as serious as I think I should either. You know, on a daily basis, um, and I sit here and worry and fear and doubt and get uh, frustrated, mad, anxious, like you know, all the things. You know, uh, you know, over whatever worldly stuff, and my body, my mind is you know like trained to do that at this point. Like you know, um, I've and based by my own allowance. You know, it's not like I'm new to Christianity here. Um, but you know, I think between like you know, you can't control what other people do, so you either drive yourself mad trying to control it, or you know whatever, or you accept that you can't control other people and that kind of thing, and you know, um, you know, you have to have you know put you know faith more in um, trusting God and you know that kind of thing, than you know trying to control things. And the dogs have really taught me more of that than anything, especially after last year. Um, you know, because I can't control it. Um, you know, I don't get to decide when they go into heat. I don't get to decide when, you know, if they get pregnant or they don't get pregnant when they, you know, are breeding. Um, I don't get to decide, you know, how many puppies they have. Um, you know, the whole list of things. Um, and you know, when you do like think that you have some control over it or that you can, you know, I don't know, or even like, uh, yeah, I guess if you, you know, just don't have faith that God will take care of, you know, you, whether it's doing what you want or not, you know, it just leads to madness and frustration and anxiety and fear and all the stuff. And uh, it's super difficult to deal with, you know, just life, you know, like that. Um, But that's what I'm saying. If we are going to be Christian and this is what we're going to believe, like, um, there's something much greater than you know us, our temporary issues, all this stuff. Um, you know, it's just you lose focus on it and focus on the trouble sometimes, and you know, do exactly what we're not, what Jesus doesn't want us to do, but he knows we're human, so that's why he told us, addressed it. I think so. Anyway, yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, I'm still like it's still in my mind, like how I talk about some type of bad Bible teaching stuff to my with my pastor, and you know, I think that needs to be done at our church. Currently, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's not bad stuff by any means. It's good stuff. Um, it's you know, just not necessarily always Bible teaching. So anyway, well, I better get to work for the day. So hope you guys have a good one, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. All right.